Hey guys, happy Saturday. This is Amanda Kelly with this art called Life. I am so happy to be here addressing something that I think is really important. So today happens to be 10/10/2020, which is a really cool number. But from a spiritual perspective, 10 is a number of wholeness. And there's probably even further meaning that we could get into. But that aside, it's also World Mental Health Day today. So I think it's a very appropriate time to bring this up. I have been wanting to, or considering addressing this spiritual perspective on what is going on right now, because I know for me, it has brought me a lot of hope about the crazy whirlwind that 2020 has been. It's a very strange time to be living in, to be sure, and strange maybe putting it lightly for a lot of people. So it's a time of chaos, uncertainty, fear for so many, and grief, despair, worry, all the things that are not very comfortable or fun to be dealing with. And of course, our mental health at a collective level is being severely impacted. So I do want to take this opportunity to come on and address these ideas, these alternative perspectives. Actually, maybe alternative isn't the best word because I feel like that's been co-opted in certain ways. But this other perspective on this situation that we're facing in 2020, the global situation. So the way I see it is that this is way bigger than a little pathogen. We're in the middle of a paradigm shift, that is for sure. But I think it's actually, and by paradigm shift, if you're not familiar with that, think about, so often in science, there's these paradigms, and then there's a big breakthrough, and our fundamental understanding of science and the world shifts because of that new perspective, that new theory. So think about Copernicus and the sun. When he said that the earth revolved around the sun and not the other way around, that was a massive paradigm shift because it fundamentally changed the way people viewed the world. And it was scary for a lot of people because it totally shattered their version of reality. And, another one, flat earth. A lot of people still believe that the earth is flat. I don't. But for some big idea like this to have the carpet pulled out from under your feet, basically, it really is not an easy thing to grapple with when everything you thought was true starts to crumble. So that's kind of what's going on in society right now, is our systems, our structures, everything seems to be kind of breaking down. And that, of course, is a really scary thing to confront because this is our livelihoods at stake. It's our health at stake. It's our government at stake, our the structures and rules of society that we're not really clear on anymore. And information these days, who can we trust? It's very hard to know what's true and what's not at this point. So there's a lot of big question marks, and these are really deep and profound questions and issues to be grappling with. So yes, I get it. The darkness is kind of scary, and sometimes we feel like we get lost in the dark. So from a spiritual perspective, this is a beautiful time to turn in, because from within we can create the light for ourselves, shine the light. It takes soul searching, it takes shadow work, it takes digging down and confronting uncomfortable things. And I'll get into all that stuff later, but I wanted to address all of this because it's very real what we're all going through. But I do also see this hope, this light at the end of the tunnel, and I want to share that perspective so that it might spread the hope a little bit and start to, plant the seeds of inquiry for other people to really understand what is going on from a bigger perspective. Because as I started saying before, this is actually bigger than a paradigm shift. This is we're basically entering a whole new era, a whole new age of humanity, a whole new level. We're rising into a whole new level of consciousness. And that, the way I see it and the way most of the spiritual community, if not all, sees it, is that we are actually ascending in consciousness, if you've heard that term. We are in the midst of a massive shift. Everything is shifting. Our realities are shifting, and we're in the middle of a great awakening, if you've heard that term, because we are in this process of ascension. And these may sound like kind of out there, woo-woo type concepts, which is why I was a little hesitant to address this stuff too early. But to be honest, I've had a lot of really encouraging conversations lately. Well, encouraging for me in the sense that, okay, maybe I should go out there and share this a little more broadly, share my perspectives a little more broadly, because I kind of stumbled into these conversations unexpectedly, one-on-one style, and we wound up going really deep into these ideas, and each and every one of them, they were not on the same page as I was to begin with, but they were very open and receptive to my perspectives and the insights. And I'm not saying that mine are better or that they're necessarily truth, but I do think, because I have been on this journey for a while and I have been going deep into it, doing a lot of work, and for me, this stuff is ringing more true than anything else. And I just keep coming back to the same ideas. Everybody out there is basically saying the same thing. It's not one woo-woo type kind of spouting this idea and I'm like, oh cool, that sounds nice. No, it's not like that at all. It's really about hearing these ideas and then sitting with them yourselves and contemplating, do these ring true for me? What feels true? What feels right? So we all have our own truths, our own realities, but I do believe that we are all kind of coming into this broader understanding, and we're getting there at different rates, and that doesn't make one person's path better or worse than the next. We're all on this journey together, and that's what this is all about. We have to come together and support each other on this journey because it's not an easy one. But I can tell you that if you stick with it, you will come out the other side, and things are speeding up. So what's taken me 4 years, what's taken somebody else 20 years, and I've kind of been on this path for more than 4 years, really like the last year and a half in a more concerted way, the last several months, like really getting deep. But time right now is speeding up, and it's actually this whole process, this whole 2020 situation is actually allowing us to do this work a lot more rapidly, to awaken and ascend and rise our vibrational frequency a lot more rapidly, because the earth herself is shifting and from these perspectives, and we are all shifting collectively together along with it, but we do have an individual choice in the matter. So if you've heard of this whole idea, well, we live in a 3D world. If you've heard this whole idea of 5D, so this is basically the new era, the new reality that we're shifting into, is this like higher dimensional frequency, but it's really just a frequency shift. Again, I understand if this sounds strange or like woo-woo or wacky even, but I just ask that you stay open to it, curious. If it doesn't resonate, leave it. That's totally fine. But and again, of course, always only take what resonates and leave the rest. Like, you don't have to agree with me, and I'm not asking you to. I'm just sharing my perspective and what I feel to be true for me, and from the feedback that I'm getting from other conversations, this stuff is making sense to a lot of other people, and they're finding it to be grounding and encouraging in a way, maybe a little scary at the same time, but the light is there. The light at the end of the tunnel is very much there and in reach. You just have to keep going toward it. So that's what you have to do, is keep choosing the light, choosing the love, and keep moving forward. But that doesn't mean spiritual bypassing. It doesn't mean toxic positivity. It doesn't mean pretending everything's fine when it's not, because that is not going to serve you. That's just a form of repression and suppression, which is not going to serve anybody in the long run, particularly not yourself. But we are going through this whole collective purge. So it's bringing stuff up, bringing stuff out of the darkness and into the light. We're literally shining light into the shadows of humanity, into ourselves too. This has really been forcing us, sorry, I just need the light. It's really been forcing us to really dig deep. And if you haven't been doing that, no judgment. Now is the time to choose that. Every moment you have a new choice. Every moment you can choose to go down that path or go down that path. And there's no judgment. It's your path to choose. But if you're not comfortable or happy, or, happy is a little bit fluffy, but if you're not feeling optimistic or hopeful about your future or the future around us, then I maybe get a little curious about what might be possible, what might be available if you do choose that other path. So many of us turn to things that numb us out, and again, zero judgment here, but the more we numb, and that could be with alcohol, it could be with food, it could be with just any habits that aren't actually serving our growth and expansion, that are kind of keeping us in the same space. That could be even just like having the same conversations on loop, complaining and fretting and worrying. These conversations, while it might be helpful to vent and to get it out, to share your frustration, there's so much value in that, absolutely. And I highly support going to see therapists, having a support group, having somebody to talk to, any and all of the above. We do need to express ourselves. That said, having the same conversations on repeat is really only going to continue to perpetuate it, especially when it comes to trauma situations. Just continuing to go round and round and repeating those patterns verbally can actually trigger it and can actually trigger the trauma, and it doesn't actually help us release the trauma. So while yes, it's good to process it, we do need to release it. That is the key, is to release all this stuff. And it does require deep processing and concerted efforts to really look, to bring awareness to what's coming up with us, and to really look at it and dig deep. And it's not easy. It's the hardest work any of us will ever do in our lives. But that's why we are here now in this lifetime. This is our collective work. It's our individual work. I have a really interesting, I heard this tidbit, and for me, it just opened my mind into this, oh my God, this is actually such a fun ride that we're on. It's wild and wacky and a massive roller coaster. But so right now there are, roughly 8 billion people on the planet, right? So there's this perspective that we all chose to be here in this lifetime, and we all specifically chose to be here for this show, for this 2020 stuff. And when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, what? Me? Why would I ever choose this? This sucks. If you're in the depths of it, I get it. I totally get it. But it's so that we can do this work, so that we can see this whole shift happening, because we are at this, literally, okay, so there's also this perspective that we are not alone in the universe. There are a lot of other dimensions and beings and planets out there, and they do have higher level technology, so they're aware of us, we're less aware of them, because we've actually been only allowed to see this much of reality in this matrix that we're in. I also encourage you to go rewatch like the Matrix, and yeah. So anyway, so once you start to look at these things, your perspective on every fantasy and sci-fi movie changes. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So for every single one of us here, there were actually, I heard this isn't me making it up, I just think it's a fascinating point to consider. For every single one of us here, all 8 billion of us, there were at least 1 million other souls who wanted to be here for each one of us. That's like mind-blowing to me. That's how important what is going on right now is from a galactic, universal perspective. All eyes are on Earth right now. And Earth actually technically already ascended, and the process began, again, I don't have all the information. I know a good amount, but only surface level compared to many others out there. But just from my own perspective, because I've been on this kind of weird journey post-cancer, and all this stuff has been coming to me, and my intuition, I've been tapping into my intuition more and more and more, and my intuition is really telling me that all of this stuff, and I've been getting all these crazy synchronicities from the universe, signs, and I have to tell you that I have been tapping into this 5D notion more and more, and it's pretty magical. Like, when we talk about it's not all rainbows and sunshine and butterflies, like life, in 5D, it kind of is. I literally see rainbows almost every day in some way, shape, or form. I see butterflies all the time, and I'm not saying my life is like all perfect and smooth. No, but lately it's been feeling more and more like that, because I have done a lot of deep interpersonal work. I've had a lot of deep trauma releases lately, and I've really been digging in, and I feel freer and lighter, and it's an ongoing process for me, but I'm feeling more and more free, lighter and lighter as I go, and it's a really amazing feeling. And just a fun little tidbit, the other day, I was on the beach and I stumbled into one of these conversations and found out that yes, this person I was talking to was in tune with all of these ideas. So we had a really interesting back and forth, and there's still a lot of question marks. There's still a lot of question marks for me about what's actually going on, in our political situation, for example. I don't know. There's major question marks for me, but I just kind of was like, well, I do know that I choose rainbows and beauty and magic and sunshine. And we were at the beach. I was looking out at the water, and literally 3 minutes later, I look over. There is a rainbow in the sky that wasn't there before. I was like, oh my God, I just called in that rainbow. So it was so fun. Like, this is how fun it can be. And, I'm not calling in everything left and right. Like, could I call in $1 million? I don't know. That would be nice. But the point is that when we shift into this space of releasing all the fear, releasing the density, purging this from our being, and stepping into our power, stepping into this space of being in tune with our intuition and our instincts, and really seeing that potential and possibility as absolutely unshakably ours, then instant manifestation is actually going to be the norm. We are going to be able to instantly manifest and call in things that we desire. And how fun is that? I'm super excited for this. This is the reality that I want to choose. So I don't know if that resonates with you. Maybe you want to consider getting on board with that, and doing the inquiry and self-discovery, but also doing the research yourself and figuring out what sounds true for you, because I just think it all sounds wonderful. So to do it's simple in theory, but it's not easy. I'm not ever going to pretend this is easy. But what is required of us is, again, to do that inner work, but to step in to love, to choose this vibration of light and gratitude and love and harmony and oneness and unity, and to not go down the drains of fear, the rabbit holes of separation. We don't want to get caught up in the drama of what's going on, because right now it's pretty chaotic and there's a lot of dark stuff coming up out there. Like, there is some dark stuff coming out of the shadows, stuff that we may not really want to acknowledge, but that's also part of the awakening process, is to realize that we have been very limited, and there has been this agenda to kind of control our perceptions of reality, but also our ability to tap into our own potential. It's like this inverted matrix has inverted our notions of love. Like, here's a simple example that I just heard myself earlier. So the number 666 is associated with the devil, with Satan. Actually, it really wasn't about that before. It was co-opted, it was hijacked. So the number 666, it adds up to 18. 18 is all about life. Life is all about growth and expansion. Fear is all about constriction. So that's just one little example of how life has been kind of inverted for us. And the matrix that we're living in isn't serving growth and expansion, really. If we're to get really honest about it, who is it serving? And that's another thing for you to consider. I would encourage you, I focus more on the consciousness aspect of things, but I do try to understand what else might be going on. And I have to say that my mind has been opened in a lot of ways with this current situation, that the reality I thought was true is maybe not actually real, or, it's truth is stranger than fiction. Let's put it that way. Maybe just leave it at that. So yeah, there's many rabbit holes that we can go down with all of this, and I just encourage you to consider this, to open your mind, to stay curious, and just stay open and pay attention, because once you start to tap in, the universe will send you signs. There will be all sorts of synchronicities. Like, one little thing is looking at repeating numbers. If you see repeating numbers, that's usually, like, they call them angel numbers a lot of the time, because it's your angels, your guides, kind of confirming that you're on the right path in a way. And then you can look up, like, what does 111 mean? What does 444 mean? 777, all of that kind of stuff. But anytime you see that, and I have to say, I've been seeing it constantly on, it sounds silly maybe a little bit, but social media posts, I'm always seeing repeated numbers on, like, likes and comments, and also, like, the clock, like, what time is it? I look up, as I've been recording this, I looked up when it said 11:11 and 22:22. So what are the odds of me doing that? Because those are the only two times I've actually looked up at the little clock up there. So I don't know. It's kind of strange and bizarre sometimes, but you're like, okay, like, there's got to be something to this, because that's not coincidence at that point. That's not so random. So instead of, like, brushing stuff off as coincidence, get curious about that and ask for guidance, ask for help. Maybe you're not so in tune, maybe you don't even feel that spiritual, have never been connected. And for me, spirituality is separate from religion. It doesn't really matter what religion you may be associated with, and I don't care. Do whatever resonates with you. I was raised Christian. That's my background. I'm not trying to hide anything whatsoever either. And I'm not trying to deny that there are really amazing aspects to all of these religions, but we have to really boil down the message and what is the core truth of these religions, because there has been a lot of other stuff. This is why I kind of personally steer clear of labels and religion as much as possible, because there have been a lot of agendas in religion, a lot. So I just personally, I try not to associate my spirituality with a religion so much. I'll celebrate Christmas for sure, but I'm very excited for Christmas, actually. So anyway, I do plan to, and there's so much more I can share, and if you're interested and if you're curious, absolutely reach out to me, comment below, send me an email, any way, shape, or form. I'm super happy to continue these conversations one-on-one as well. I mean, to a limited degree, I suppose, but yeah, and I'm here, I'm a coach by trade. Like, I'm here to support. I'm also coming out with a course, Rise with Resilience, that really helps us to get the foundations in place, in order to achieve, transcendence, or just self-actualization, or this just better state of being where we are successful, like however you want to look at it for yourself, for your own personal journey and goals. We really need to make sure that foundation is solid. And that's what's happening right now, is we are seeing very clearly that the foundations we have created are not at all solid. They are crumbling beneath us at an individual level, at a collective level, and just look at our structures and everything. It is not serving us. None of these structures and systems are serving us. So that's part of the paradigm shift, but it's also part of this whole awakening and ascension and this new era that we're entering. It's also the era of love. I want to just address that before I hop off here. We have been so mental focused, so mind focused, rational, analytical, logic. So a lot of these notions have been denied because, they can't be proven by science or whatever. And there's no rational knowing. Your brain can't know these things to be true. So there's nothing grounding them. So they're just dismissed. That's actually the amazing thing right now, is that science is actually, the way I put it, kind of catching up to a lot of the spiritual notions. Quantum physics is fascinating. I encourage you to look into that a little bit. Basically, everything is energy. We've known this for a while, but it hasn't really filtered into our operating systems and our consciousness and our educational systems, for sure not. Even biology and our understanding of biological sciences is limited. Genetics, there's a whole new perspective on genes, and epigenetics has just blown open our whole understanding of genes and health and disease and longevity and all of that. And we're only using tiny portions of our brain, tiny portions of our DNA. Think about that. We have so much latent potential, so much dormant potential within us that we haven't even come close to understanding. So I just am so excited for the future, because I think it's going to be wildly brilliant and amazing. But yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. Maybe it could. I think we have to let go of these ideas of limitation, and it has to take a long time. It doesn't. It might. It doesn't have to, but it might. But long time is also relative. What does long mean? And as I said, time has kind of been speeding up, and things are being allowed to happen a lot faster now. We're kind of being guided along this, and most of the universe, there are other agendas out there. Most of the universe is supporting humanity and rising up. So there is a lot of hope. There's a lot of light. There's a lot of support that you can call on right now. And I am also just doing my little role as best I can to support and to share my little understandings and insights based in light and love. And yeah, I really just want to support as many people as possible in their journey of releasing all of the limiting beliefs, the densities, the fears, and stepping into their power and their purpose, and living in love and joy and wholeness. So, healing back to wholeness is what I'm all about. And I just am sending so much love to everybody right now. I have so much compassion for everybody wherever you are on your journey. And I do intend to continue sharing. I just have been getting these little nudges, these intuitive hits that I need to be doing this more. So I'm finally going with it. And if you have any specific requests on topics or questions that you want me to address, I'm more than happy to do that. Actually, I would really appreciate that, because then I know that, you know, what I'm saying is helpful. So, and I feel like I would like to think that this stuff is helpful for at least, you know, a few people out there. Because I know it's been profoundly helpful for me to be tapping into all of the things that I've stumbled on. And once you start going down these rabbit holes, you will stumble upon more and more. It's just a matter of taking that first step and being bold enough to get curious, I suppose. So I feel like there's a lot more I could say, but we're over 30 minutes at this point, so I'm going to cut it there for now. And again, just reach out to me and, you know, comment. And I guess, so this is my first YouTube video purposely for YouTube. So if you want to follow and subscribe or like, what are the things you do on YouTube? Subscribe and like, I think, comment. Yeah, I'm getting there. So anyway, you know, do all the things. Share this if you think somebody may resonate with it, or share it widely by all means. This is all about supporting everyone out there on their journeys. So yeah, again, sending so much love to you guys, and I hope to see you soon. Onward and upward in love and light, sending you so much light right now.